Welcome once again to the Comic Shop Reading Room, the companion video show to the podcast called The Comic Shop, which if you haven't listened to, hey, check out our podcast. It's called The Comic Shop.
Shameless promotion.
Shameless promotion. Facebook.com/TheComicShop1. This is our companion video show where we actually talk about comic books, because that really isn't part of the format of the podcast, even though it's called The Comic Shop. If you haven't already, check back, watch episode 1, where I kind of give the origin story to the video. To the video channel and why we did it this way.
The podcast is more dedicated to
the podcast is pretty much other media like films, TV, and we talk about gaming and stuff like that. Anyway, yeah, go back, check out video 1, like it, subscribe. All right, so we are going to talk about actual comic books. Scott went first last week, so I'm going to go first this week.
You will.
This week, what I have to offer is an anthology series called. And I will put still shots of the covers and the art, edit them into the video and post. It's called Cinema Purgatorio. This is an Alan Moore joint, sort of.
It was kickstarted by Alan Moore.
It was kickstarted by Alan Moore, and Alan Moore writes the front stories. This is an horror, sci-fi-ish anthology series, once a month. It does come with a $6 cover price, but it's the quality.
And 4 or 5 chapters per book.
There are 5 stories per book, 5 short stories per book. You've got names like Alan Moore. You've got names like Garth Ennis. How I got into this is you've got Max Brooks is doing a thing in here, and I will tell the story about that on the podcast briefly.
Yeah, it'd take a little too much time.
What's that? Yeah, that would take a little bit too much time. So if you haven't listened to this week's episode of the podcast, because this is going to come up after the podcast airs, go back and listen to issue 76 of the Comic Shop, and I will talk a little bit about the Max Brooks story. So anyway, this is some really deeply psychological and graphic horror stuff, and swearing, and bodily functions, and monsters, and flying lawnmowers, and all that kind of stuff.
Monsters, we love monsters.
Not the flying lawnmowers. I stole that from a movie. My Science Project. There's a deep pull for this week. There's actually a very good review of this on comicsheatingup.net. The guy's name, apparently Drunk Wookie,
that's the byline.
Is his
Drunk
handle.
Wookie.
There's no real byline. He says, hey, it's Drunk Wookie, and he does a review. So back in 2016, early 2016, late 2015, Alan Moore started a Kickstarter. Said he wants to put out this, and it gives Alan Moore's pitch on this review. This is why I'll mention it again on the website. You should check this out. And he got the Kickstarter, got it up and running, got it funded, and released it through Avatar Press. So you've got basically 5 stories in this book, and it's chapters, and each week or each month rather repeats or is a new chapter in the same arc. You've got Alan Moore just doing the fronts are not connected. They're connected psychologically, but not anyway. And the fronts are some of the most disturbing stuff, because that's the stuff that deep dives into your brain pan. And you've got other stories, and they're like modded, which is kind of a weird horror version of Pokemon. And you've got Code PRU or Code Pru. I'm not sure how it's actually pronounced, but that's like cops, if the cops were EMTs in a big city where every aspect of the paranormal actually exists, like demons and ghosts and werewolves and possessions and vampires.
Oh my.
Exactly. And you've also got, what else do we have? The Vast is like a post-apocalyptic kaiju kind of story.
Ooh.
Giant monsters. Giant monsters.
Godzilla!
So there's that. There's Code Pru. There's Modded. There's the first one, Cinema Purgatorio. And then there is the Max Brooks storyline, which is called A More Perfect Union. This is cool for me specifically. I got into this, just like the book I talked about last week, through the Nerdist. Because Chris Hardwick had Max Brooks on an episode of the Nerdist podcast, and he talked about this project, and I says, I want to read this book. And I read this book, and I like this book a lot.
I want to read those books myself.
You can take these books home with you, and you can read these books. So anyway, that is my recommendation. Cinema Purgatorio, anthology, helmed by Alan Moore, but you have Kevin O'Neill doing writing for art for Alan Moore. You've got Max Brooks, Michael DePascali's doing art for him. Garth Ennis, Rollo Caceres is doing art for him. And so you've got names and guest editors, letterers and stuff like that come in every week, or every month rather. And the books are extremely high quality, excellent stock, laminated covers.
Yeah.
Carries like I said, carries a $6 cover price, but it's worth it. I mean, this is especially if you're very much into anthologies, like fresh anthologies, not anthologies of old stories, and if you're into the horror, the sci-fi, the gore, and also the psychological aspect of this stuff.
Any fans of like Creep Show?
Yes,
Tales from the Crypt.
This stuff is definitely up your alley. So that is my recommendation of the week. This is issues 4 and 5 I have in front of me, is Cinema Purgatorio. Thank you very much, Alan Moore. We will love you forever. What do you got?
Me. Last week I paid homage to Alex Ross.
As should be, yes.
And his Marvel magic of the story of Marvels.
If you're going to genuflect to anybody in this world, genuflect to Alex Ross.
Well, we might as well show off his DC goodness.
That's right.
Kingdom Come was an awesome story about...
It's an epic arc.
Yeah, it's wicked epic art. It's about the Justice League, but years later, and their children. Yeah, you know.
As a Spectre.
That's the Spectre.
Yeah.
And this is the guy who's there. This is his story, his point of view, the whole story. And
that panel right
yeah,
there.
I know,
beautiful.
right? I know.
This panel in the corner is the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's very cool stuff. Anyway, yeah. And it's just...
We gave Alex Ross credit for Marvel. We should give Alex Ross credit for DC.
Yeah, that wasn't exactly my highlight, but I figured why not? I already did Marvels last week, so I might as well do Kingdom Come this week. What I really loved was when I found Marvel Comics splashing the X-Men with Star Trek.
Now this is a thing, though,
this
because
is the second one.
This is a thing,
the next
and there's
cast.
I think there's 2 novelizations, because everyone who knows was a Star Trek fan
directly after this one
knows the novelizations. The Star Trek novels and Star Trek The Next Gen novels. That's some epic storytelling right there.
Yeah.
There's a long, time-honored tradition of writing Star Trek books that are episodes that never happened, but that reference other stuff that happened actually in the series, but brand new stories. I mean, it's like their extended universe.
Well, there was a novelization done right after they did the Next Gen X-Men crossover. It was called Planet X.
That's right.
It was about the population of the planet.
Who wrote that?
I can't remember.
I don't know. I wonder if
But
Peter
the
David
population of
wrote
the planet was they developed a mutant population.
Yeah. Another humanoid race that develops a mutation.
And they didn't know what to do, so the X-Men happened to be aboard the Enterprise, and hey, there you go.
There you go. The X-Men happened to be aboard the Enterprise.
Yeah, it was a whole.
We live in a world where that sentence makes sense.
And previously, some of these same X-Men that are on Enterprise D visited the Enterprise, not A. The Enterprise.
The Enterprise.
With
TOS.
Kirk and Spock
Yes.
and McCoy, yeah. That's the one I've been trying to find, but I can't find it because it's probably in one of the 7 long boxes in my closet. Anyway.
Don't bitch about having that's first world problems, man. All right, so we have names on this book: Abnett, Edgington, Nord, and Koblish. Probably we got colors and letters at the end, and Abnett writing and Edgington. Not names I'm
the art
familiar
in
with.
this one isn't as spectacular as the art in the original cast.
Yeah, but that's the back cover.
It's all
Look at
there you
that.
go.
Look at that. Wolverine's
Wolverine and a
claws and a
batleth.
batleth. That's
And on the inside inside
man.
of the front cover, there's a fold out with a X-Men and Star Trek Next Generation symbol. Glare.
There you go.
It is.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I'll just screenshot this, crop it, and put it.
It was very cool. But yeah, I've read both those stories hundreds of times, and they're so good.
Yes.
Hard to find though. Really hard to find.
The X-Men.
The X-Men,
Yeah.
first generation cast, and this one.
Well, who knew that it was going to be a thing? Why not? I mean, it is kind of a weird crossover.
Yeah, it's another 2 great tastes that go great together.
Exactly. That's a callback to a cover with Batman and Spider-Man on it. How about that? From episode 1 of this video series. So very cool.
I did bring other things if we have more time. I don't know.
Yeah, shoot me one more. Why not?
We got. This is just a Wizard freebie. It was in Wizard magazine. Deadpool number 0. Number 0. And it's a really thin book. It's just about as thick as one of those freebie ones from the ones that I showed you from Pizza Hut.
Featuring the lamest dead people in the Marvel universe.
Oh yeah.
All right, it's a Deadpool book, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely comedy. It's great.
Nice.
But anyway, all right.
All right.
I don't know how much time you got.
I think we'll wrap that up because you want to keep these short, a lot shorter than the podcast.
Yes.
So yeah, so we've got two offerings, where a bunch of different offerings from Scott. He's a smorgasbord kind of guy.
Yeah,
You're going to get your variety from this guy. You've got that Deadpool book, the Star Trek Next Generation X-Men crossover, and Alex Ross, the compended Kingdom Come. And I'll give you Cinema Purgatorio. Search for these books. Look up comicsheatingup.net for the review of Cinema Purgatorio. I highly recommend that before or after. He does get something wrong about the Max Brooks. Because the Max Brooks thing set it up in the first issue and then gave you the payoff in the second issue. He says something that's wrong about that story. But read issue 1, then read issue 2. And especially if you're a favorite of...
Did you say you're going to blow up the Max Brooks one on the podcast?
I will blow up the Max Brooks one on the podcast. So if it's the middle of the week and you're seeing this video, go check out our podcast. All right, so there you go.
This has been
the Reading Room, episode 2. Facebook.com/the Comic Shop or the Comic Shop 1. I'm sorry. Facebook.com/the Comic Shop 1. acpodcast@gmail.com. That's going to change, but for right now, acpodcast@gmail.com. And I wanted to say about the twist in the Max Brooks story. If you're a fan of black and white, late 50s, early 60s horror movies, yeah.
There's a stinger
Let's
there.
go talk about it on the podcast. All right. This is Scott.
Yes, he is.
I am Eric.
Yes, he is.
Yes, I am. And we will see you.
Like and subscribe?
The pointing downward thing that all the YouTubers do.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe. Leave us comments.
We love that.
Let us know. We love feedback almost as much as we love actually doing this stuff in the first place.
Feedback is what birthed this video.
Feedback is exactly why this video channel exists. And we have a modest amount of views on the first episode. Share, like, comment, subscribe, share, all the stuff you do with all the stuff you love on the internet.
Yes, please.
Okay, so we're going to tie this one up. We will see you next week in the reading room.